This is CG Ruthless Sports. I will be brutally honest. Ain't nothing but being brutally honest. Coming at you with another video. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome my guest from 95.7 The Game, Mark Willard. Man, how's it going, bro?
It's going fantastic, man. How are you?
Doing great, man. It's an honor to have you on the show, man.
No, hey, it's an honor for me to be invited. Honestly, I love talking about this stuff, and there's certainly plenty to get into. So good to be here.
Yeah, it is, man. It's a great week for the Niners to come away with this victory, man. Like, you would have thought, hey, if the Rams would have beat us, this would have been a long season to go. But it had to feel good to just get that difference maker, right?
Well, I just think it's a reminder that the league is such a week-to-week league. Our perceptions about all of these football teams change on a week-to-week basis. 2 weeks ago, we all would have been confident that the Bucs were going to win the NFC South, and now we've decided that Tom Brady is done, So, that could go right back the other direction again next week. And so that's why this was extra important for the 49ers to play like they did this week. Not only for the obvious reasons to get to 4-4, but I think it's important for this group after the acquisition of Christian McCaffrey to go into a bye week where they're going to listen to everything that's said about them for a full 2-week period and have that be really good. Most people now think this is one of the top 4 teams in the NFC. And had they lost, had they not even played as well as they did in the second half last week, like you said, there'd be a lot of people already having conversations about next year. So that's how it is. That's how thin the line is, and that's why it's so good that they played the way they did in the second half.
Yeah, Christian McCaffrey did something remarkable since LaDainian Tomlinson did it. Like I couldn't think of any other player that did it last time, and this is so almost 20 years ago. LT did that, and I'm like, man, I haven't seen a guy did that since LaDainian Tomlinson did it. And
yeah, I think it's only been 3 times ever, and LaDainian was one of them. I want to say Walter Payton might have been the other, but yeah. McCaffrey, NFC Offensive Player of the Week, which was an easy pick, and obviously an awesome way for him to get introduced to the 49er fans.
Yeah, I just thought it was a long shot, because the Niners don't usually go too big on these type of trade moves and all that stuff.
I don't know. It's interesting. I mean, I think that's the perception, but I'm not necessarily sure if it's a fair one. I think that sometimes we think of them as a conservative team. Kyle doesn't go for it a lot on 4th down within games, and so sometimes we transfer that to the front office. But if you actually look at the last 3 years of 49er football, they got Emmanuel Sanders at the deadline 3 years ago. They go to a Super Bowl. A year and a half ago, they give up the capital of 3 first rounds in order to go get Trey Lance. This year, they give up 4 picks in order to go get Christian McCaffrey. So I actually think that the opposite is somewhat true. I think that it's a team that's showing its willingness to get aggressive if they feel like they can go in.
Yeah, you got to go all in because this is a talented roster. This has no excuses. Even if we had Trey Lance at quarterback, this was built to win now.
Well, that's one of the questions I still have about the way that this construction has gone. Because the roster is so good, and we go back to week 2, and there were already rumblings that certain players in the locker room were not thrilled that Jimmy Garoppolo was still on the team, and they were going with Trey Lance, even though we understand all the sort of uniqueness of how that all came together. The bottom line is that it's really hard to win with a young quarterback, and the rest of their roster is so win ready. I mean, you could argue that if you remove quarterbacks from all teams in the NFL, just remove quarterbacks, who's got the best roster? I bet the answer you'd get more than any others is the 49ers. And so even though Jimmy is far from perfect, I think that group filled with veterans is thinking, like, why should we have to wait? Why should we have to go through growing pains? And because of the way this is played out, they're going to have these exact same questions again next year.
Yeah, it is. And you're right about it. This is the most talented roster on defense also, and you have the most talented on offense. So it's like you could take away the quarterbacks, and yes, you're right about it. Like, hey, McCaffrey can even play quarterback if he needed to, man. He just showcased that skill set right there.
Well, I think a play like that is exactly the kind of play that people were dreaming about when they started thinking of McCaffrey and Kyle Shanahan together. Everybody knew that would be a pretty lethal group, and I also think it showed. I mean, it's only been one game, but it kind of showed like what you're seeing in Miami right now. Mike McDaniel is an extension of Kyle Shanahan. The only difference in terms of what McDaniel has right now that Shanahan doesn't is a ton of team speed on offense. And you're seeing how hard it is for other teams to stop that group, and why when their quarterback is healthy, they're one of the better teams in the AFC because they got two of the fastest receivers in the game, and they obviously have Raheem Mostert in the backfield, who we know really well. So they have a ton of team speed. The 49ers didn't really have that. They're fast, but, Debo is not the fastest receiver. Ayuk's not the fastest receiver, and they clearly out of the backfield are more kind of a plodding, move the sticks kind of a group. Well, now you have an elite speed guy, a guy who can move the chains on third down. And so, now Kyle's really got everything he needs to do what he wants. And they had their best offensive game because of it. I would expect more of that in the second half of the year.
Yeah, the way we're going to have to utilize those players in the second half. But like you said, Miami does have a lot of track speeds. I mean, you had Tyreek Hill, which I thought was one of the biggest steals in the blockbuster trade, even though it took some draft capital. But they had a lot of draft capital to make that happen. And then, yeah, Jalen Waddle is like an exceptional athlete too. So that kind of makes it so scary. But the Niners, like you said, Debo's not the world-class speed guy, but he definitely can move the chains and do a lot of stuff. McCaffrey just adds another bonus to that offense with Kittle,
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, that's kind of, the cool thing is that we haven't even seen McCaffrey and Debo really on the field at full strength together yet, so now if you're the Chargers and you're game planning for the 49ers, you got to think that their focus is going to largely be on McCaffrey. And then that's when Debo can kind of get lost in the defense. And so they're going to have a lot. They're going to have a lot that they can throw at defenses now in the second half of the season, provided that they can, be blessed with some health.
Oh, yeah. That's going to be the most tricky part for the Chargers. They're going to have a hard time figuring out if it's going to be McCaffrey because we just gave the Rams just problems even without Debo. So that does leave Debo out of the shadow for a little bit, and then he becomes a mismatch. Then it opens up guys like Ayuk. Every now and then you'll get Kittle. But this offense, it has a lot of different ways to get these players open. The way how Shanahan schemes this offense, they can separate, No,
they got all they need. All they need now is health, and for that offensive line to continue to mature. If Jimmy is given the kind of time that he was given in the Rams game, he'll be good enough. He'll be good enough. He'll never be perfect. He's always going to, may have a few throws a game usually that make you hold your breath. But, he's a guy he's going to make those intermediate throws, I think, pretty well if he's able to do it on time and have time to deliver it. So, yeah, with the arsenal that he's got now at his disposal, there aren't many excuses left. In a weak NFC, they've got everything they need to succeed now.
Yeah, and the NFC West is very wide open too. So it's like there's no excuses on that part. Jimmy has all the weapons. So the only part of Jimmy G is, hey, just do your job. Don't don't try to be the hero. Just manage the game. We don't expect you to be a Tom Brady or the Aaron Rodgers of the world. Just do your job.
I don't think you ever have to. Yeah, I don't think you have to worry about that with him. I mean, he's the same guy that a few weeks ago, when they decided to sign him, you know, and bring him back, I should say, restructure him. He was the one who said you have to know your place in this league. Sort of having the self awareness that he's not someone who's going to command 2 first-round draft picks from another team and necessarily be that guy. Like, the fact that he was willing at that point to stay on and be a backup, I think shows that that's not the type of guy he is. He's not someone who's going to go out there even in a contract year and try to do too much. I think he's going to, especially now with the players that he has in front of him. It's a very, very simple assignment. It's do whatever you can to get the ball in their hands as quickly as possible. And I think he's the kind of guy you can trust to do that.
Yeah, and when it comes down to those little pass plays where he has to read more of those other open receivers, you got McCaffrey who can actually make his job easy. We just saw that one play where it was supposed to go to Kittle on that pass play, but it left McCaffrey just getting that extra space to move up and get that ball, which is spectacular.
Well, he's somebody who can make other people miss. So you don't have to necessarily scheme him wide open down the field on the other side of the sticks. Somebody that you can get the ball in space, and if he has to beat somebody one-on-one to the sideline to get a first down or whatnot, he's now the best option on the team to do that. So, for someone like Jimmy who is going to check down sometimes, to have that kind of speed in that position, it will certainly be helpful.
Oh yeah, it will. Like, he won't have to be asking too much pressure for this one. He'll have the guys that are wide open, the outlet receivers, like you said. But I like how we can utilize the screen pass more and Texas plays and all the other stuff. That opens up a lot of this offense because we like to go for those little short passes and go for those yak guys. But we don't try to test as much deep downfield. But Jimmy's has done a little bit of it lately.
Well, I mean, again, it's opportunistic, right? If you've got that many people now who kind of scare a defense that are going to be running around underneath, and don't forget Eli Mitchell probably going to be part of this package as well, coming up next week when they get back on the field. That's going to take so much attention that at times you're going to have people be able to slip by the defense. That's what happened with Ross Dwelley. Like, if everybody's going to be breaking on McCaffrey and Debo and Brandon Ayuk, there are going to be plays where a Ray McLeod or in this case a Ross Dwelley is going to be ignored by a defense, and that'll create opportunities. And Jimmy deserves a lot of credit on that particular play for being patient enough to wait for it and then to see it and then to execute the throw.
Yeah, it will, because like you said, Ray McLeod will be forgotten. And we just saw a play from Ross Dwelley who got 56 yards out of that play. It was definitely an open play for him to catch that ball. And Jimmy did a pretty good job on that pass play because nobody was really paying attention to Dwelley as much,
Yeah, exactly. You had defense that at that point was kind of scared of Christian McCaffrey, scared of some of what Ayuk had been doing. So, he's going to go one way, 2 defenders are going to go with him, and that's going to leave somebody else, wide open in the free. So I do think that, we'll focus on the underneath game of what McCaffrey brings, but it should, in theory, open things up downfield for all the other players.
Yeah, it should, because there's going to be more opportunities for guys like Jennings to get the ball too, because they're mostly going to focus on those other 3 receivers more. Like, Ayuk is kind of becoming his own. He's actually becoming reliable at times. Kittle's kind of shown like what he can be, but we expect him to be more of a blocker. But when he gets those opportunities to catch those passes, man, he capitalizes when he needs to.
You broke up a little bit there, but yeah, I think you look at someone like Brandon Ayuk. I think this is one of the most underrated players in the whole NFL. This guy has been a part of an offense for his entire career that does not feature the wide receiver in a traditional way, but he is a very traditional wide receiver and probably the best 49er with regard to that kind of traditional route running. I've been a big fan of him ever since he was at Arizona State. I've had a lot of conversations with his personal wide receiver coach, and I've always been very, very kind of bullish on his future. And I think right now, this 3 to 4 week stretch that you're seeing with him right now is really a coming out party for him, where the offense now is going to have the opportunity to get him involved at a different level, which I think is going to is going to lead to some really nice things for him and for the team.
Oh yeah, like he's a natural wide receiver, runs those good routes, yards after the catch. Like this guy has long arms. I mean, yeah, it's gonna definitely get more of his targets. Like he's been getting a lot of those targets. He's been making the most out of it. But now that you have a guy like McCaffrey and Debo and a lot of those players at the same time, that's going to be a problem that does leave him with some one-on-one matchups, which favors him at times, and that's what makes unique. I mean, he got like a couple touchdowns against the Falcons. He was able to have consistent production for the last few weeks. So he's been very dependable, which I like about him.
Yeah, no, he's a hell of a player, man. And so I know he was one of the ones who was vocal a couple of weeks ago about getting the ball into their playmakers' hands. That's really what this whole thing's going to be all about. It's just a matter of whether or not Jimmy's going to have the time created by the offensive line and the timing with some of these receivers to get the ball in their hands. But if you talk about the group of offensive weapons that the 49ers have, honestly, if Jimmy's got time, it's going to be pretty difficult for defenses to stop them on a consistent basis, because there's just these are high level players now that I don't know many teams, certainly not in the NFC, that are offering what the 49ers are, but position by position. There may be better receiving cores, there may be better running backs, there may even be a better tight end. You could have those arguments, but this collection of people, to me, this is number one in the NFL as far as that group. So they don't have a superstar quarterback. Therefore, they just have to give him time to put the ball in those guys' hands, and they'll make plays.
Oh yeah, like you said, this is an entire collective talent. Like this is exactly what certain teams don't got. Like Christian McCaffrey is a weapon that does it all. You could put him in a slot receiver. Debo, you could put him at running back, or he can just be your number one receiver. Kittle, he does everything that most tight ends wouldn't do, but he does it at a high level. And then you have guys like Jimmy, who may not be your elite quarterback, but he is solid enough to get the job done. I mean, Ayuk, he's got the high potential to be a number one receiver in this league, and he's already starting to show the potential that he could be this year, because he's starting to show signs that he is a good receiver and can be dependable when it's necessary. And he's changed his attitude, which I like about him. He's not being too quiet like he used to. Now he's kind of being vocal, like you said. He's speaking about his production and speaking up about the team needs to step up and all that stuff. That's what I like about a player that could say that. There's nothing wrong with frustration.
Yeah, it's year three. It's year three, and a young player is gonna step into his own and start to transition into being a veteran and being a voice in the locker room, and so it's time for him to do that. He was a good rookie, and then his second year, he had his issues. Kyle Shanahan had issues with him, and all you want from a player who goes through that situation is to react and respond, instead of sort of cowering in the corner and getting frustrated and calling for a trade or any of that. And he never did any of that. He just kind of went back to work and tried to better himself. And I think, again, over this last month, you're really seeing that play out. So the beauty of it is that we're talking about all this without having seen all of them do it together yet. It's only been one full game for McCaffrey. Mitchell will come back and complement him. I think everybody's excited to see Debo and McCaffrey play together. And so that's coming soon. And again, as we all know, the one thing with this team that you're just hoping is that health that it sounds like they're heading toward. You hope they keep it, because that's been the hardest thing for them.
Yeah, durability has been the problem with the team ever since Shanahan's been on the team. It's like we have the talent in the world, but they just can't stay healthy. Emmanuel Mosley, for example, was playing his best year, and then that injury in Carolina just sealed his season over. He was playing his best football, and that injury was just devastating. But I feel like, what is it going to take for the Niners to overcome that injury from Emmanuel Moseley?
Well, that's actually a pretty big question right now. The first answer is just to hope that it doesn't happen on the other side as well, which Javarius Ward was out also. You saw how much worse the defense looked immediately, and he was compromised against the Chiefs as well. So him being back to full strength was big last week, and then you're just going to have to keep getting, first of all, some young guys to keep maturing quickly, like Diamador Lenore, and then this experiment that they're having right now with Jimmy Ward as the slot kind of nickel corner. I don't think he's terribly pleased with it. I think it's going to be a challenge for him to sort of adjust the position like that. But I also get where the 49ers are coming from. This is kind of their best option right now because they do have two safeties performing at a high level in Hufanga and Gibson. So if that's the case, then Ward becomes, their next best football player to sort of fill in for Moseley. So I think he'll get better each week. You saw him get better even from the first half to the second half against the Rams. So that's an experiment to go. And I certainly think the secondary is good enough. And we've learned through the years that the secondary is often a product of the pass rush anyway. So I'm more interested in Bosa staying healthy, get Armstead and Kinlaw back. If their defensive line gets back to full strength, it's going to make their secondary look better too.
Oh yeah, that's what made our strength to become with was because our defensive line, because Bosa's presence, Samson Ebicom is becoming into his own a little bit. But when you had guys like Armstead making their job easy, and then a healthy Kinlaw when he's at his best, man, this is where the defense can create the pressure. So that's where the secondary can capitalize. Like you've seen how Hufanga was able to get those picks. You've seen how Gibson got the picks and all that. It's because our defensive line was able to create the pressure, which is necessary.
Well, you go back to 3 years ago and the 2019 defense that looked so good. The year prior to that, in 2018, they only had 2 interceptions all year, which I know embarrassed them. And then in 2019, pretty much the same secondary became one of the best defenses in the league. And essentially, the reason was Nick Bosa. That pass rush shortens the amount of time a quarterback has to find a receiver, and therefore that's going to make a secondary that much better. So they're all working together, which is why the last 2 to 3 weeks they haven't looked as good because half of them have been hurt. But they'll start to get those guys back after the bye, and they've got an opportunity starting with that game against the Chargers to have the offense and defense as healthy as they've been all year and working together at a level that we haven't seen yet.
Oh yeah. They'll come healthy. Like we want to see what Verrett can do too, because he's coming off an injury. We don't know if he's going to come back as the same form from 2020. So we'll find out. I'm intrigued by him coming back from this injury.
Well, he's a great player, but I temper your expectations there. I mean, the fact that they've come this far with him and they're this hampered at that position, and they still haven't put him out there on the field. And he had a setback a couple of weeks ago where it almost looked like he was going to get shut down. I wonder, Jason has been through so much. He has been through so many terrible lower body injuries. You can almost sort of have the same conversation about him as we're having with the Warriors and Klay Thompson right now. Like you just can't expect to have a player be quote unquote his former self when you've been through that much trauma on the lower half of your body when you're a professional athlete. So if he can contribute at all this year, that's great. But I have a hard time expecting it.
Yeah, because of the injury history, it's hard to have those expectations. But I'm just intrigued to see what he could do at least. If he can.
That'd be great. Yeah, that'd be great if they can get him back out there. But I know they've been working hard on it and haven't gotten to that point yet.
Yeah, definitely. And what's even more interesting about the bye week is we're going to have our defense back at full health a little bit, except for Moseley. But I like how we're going to get Dre Greenlaw back and Al-Shaair back. And then Armstead should be good to go. And I'm not really sure about Kinlaw. That knee's been the issue with him. So it's like, man, what's going on?
Yeah, I think there are questions with all those guys still. We'll see. I know right now that they're hoping to be back after the bye. I know Greenlaw is hurting. Al-Shaair's injury was a complicated one for sure. Same thing with Armstead, but I know it's tracking in a nice place. And then Kinlaw, we'll see. There are some red flags there that are very, very concerning with regard to the remainder of this year and maybe even his career. So you hope for the best. I don't think it's been decided as of yet, but yeah, all four of those guys are in a spot where things are going to have to break their way in order to get back on the field and play at their normal level. So you keep your fingers crossed on that.
Yeah, we're hoping for the best for them because we need them on the field. But the one concerning factor besides the secondary and the defense when it came down to it is the offensive line. People were having those big question marks during the offseason. Do you feel like it's still a weak link in your opinion, or you still think maybe it's a little improvement than expected?
You're talking about the defensive line?
No, offensive line.
The offensive line. You know what? I feel like people still have question marks about about certain individuals, but at the same time, if you look at the collective production that has taken place, they've done their job. There's a couple guys you can complain about. McGlinchey, say he was overdrafted. There are times where it feels like Brendel at center is being asked to grow up too fast. But the bottom line is there have not been too many games this year where we have felt like poor offensive line play flat out led to a loss. And, Aaron Banks, who just last year was being called a bust on a weekly basis, here we are 8 games in, he hasn't given up a sack yet. So I think they're doing fine. They're doing fine, and they seem to be trending up. And to me, that'll be the key to the remainder of the season.
Yeah, the offensive line is pretty much was a question mark during the offseason, but I felt like Aaron Banks has checked all the boxes, in my opinion. Like he said, he hasn't allowed a sack or anything like that. Spencer Burford's kind of been exactly how I expected him to be. I said, hey, it wouldn't surprise me if he became the starting guard, and some people thought I was nuts, and they would say, hey, Shanahan wouldn't start rookies. He can make an exception. If you're that good on the field, he's going to play you.
Yep. I mean, look,
Oh. Guess he had a reception issue, guys. He'll probably be back shortly because he's driving on the road. But he's got a little reception issue, guys. My apology, but if he can go in for maybe a little bit, that will be fine. I think he was already like. Let me see if he's good. Yeah, so he should be back, probably because he's on the road, because sometimes on the road, those receptions are pretty bad. So he was going to get onto that topic, but I'll give it a few minutes. Maybe he'll come back in a bit. He said he'll be good for like at least 2:30 at the latest, so we'll see. But yeah, he's a good dude. I like watching what he says, Mark does a good job on his little segment with Dibs and all that. They do a really good podcast with him and Butcher. Really good dude. Very underrated. Like, everybody talks about the morning roast guys, but if you check out how Mark does as a co-host with other guys, man, he's awesome. But guess he's having technical difficulties, which is expected because the road. Sometimes receptions on the road can be the issue. Do I? How the hell do I sound like a robot? I don't know what happened. His reception was pretty bad. All right, so I'll give it a few more minutes because he's already like, what is wrong with your audio? I don't know what's wrong with my audio, bro. I got a laptop. It shouldn't be a problem. Dude, I got a laptop and it shouldn't even be a problem. I mean, I hate how these dumb reception issues are not that good, man. Why, I don't get why it did that. It's weird. Let me see if I can come right back. You guys hear it better? Because I just went out quickly. Let me see if I get a message back from, yeah, sometimes audio speeds up. Yep, it does. If he's not able to, it's all good. Sometimes you have reception issues and sometimes you're not able to finish the show. Yeah, no, not joking. You're cutting off and you sound like a robot. Dude, I don't know what's wrong with my laptop. It just sucks. Dude, this is a laptop that I have yet to. This is different quality I use, man. Hey, hold up a second, man. I'll be right back. Damn. Why is it the robot voice like you said, dude? I don't know what's wrong with it. I can't help myself. Okay. Well, I mean, if he's able to, but if not, I understand. For a guy like him, he's a busy man, but definitely appreciate him on the show. Really good dude. Let me see if I hear myself as a robot. Do I sound? Let me see if I hear myself as a robot. Not that bad. It's just a quick speed up thing. Oy. Well, if he's not able to, I understand. Yeah. Hopefully he fixed the audio. Dude, I don't know what's with the audio. That's the problem. I don't know why. I got this laptop. It's not even that freaking old. This was because my dad never used his damn laptop, and I got this to invest. But sometimes these freaking audios suck. Let me try again. Let me try the reception. Maybe if I reset the Wi-Fi, maybe I get better reception. Man, I hate this audio. But let me see if I get a message off of him right now. Maybe he'll explain why the issue is right now. Well, if he's not able to get on the show, it's understandable. Maybe he has stuff to do right now, but something happened reception-wise. But hey, he's a great guest, man. You guys need to go check out 95.7 The Game. Go check out Will and Dib Show. Yeah. How can it be that bad, man? Doesn't even feel hot. It's cold as hell. Feels freaking cold. Yeah, it can happen that way, man. I'll give it a few more minutes, and if he can't get onto the show, I understand. But hey, I do appreciate his little time on the show. He's got stuff to do. But yeah, how was your day going? How was work? It was good, just too much graveyard shift. Man, I hate working the night shifts, and I hate the fact I have to work extra because the damn management can't get people to want to work, man. I hate these type of people, man. They don't know when to show up. They don't know when to be committed. Like, why is it so hard to get employees to go to a job? Why do I have to fill in for somebody? Why do I have to do that? You know, it's ridiculous. Yeah, it happens. But since it's going to pass up to the mark, and if he doesn't come back at this point, then it's understandable. Maybe down the road I'll get him back on. But at the moment, he just only went in for his little time. So no worries. Yeah, it's been okay. But yeah, CG, why is working calling you so much? You're the QB of the company. Seems like I'm the QB of the company, dude. Yeah, audio is better. They're just lagging. Yep, it is. Man. Dude, try to get called 5 freaking damn times and you can't even freaking sleep because of stupid workers can't even show up, bro. This is why I want to do podcasts, because I don't want to work a fucking job no more. It's really ridiculous, bro. Can't even get a life, can't even get nothing to clear my head, man. Yeah, you sound choppy and static. Yep, I do, pretty much. Let's see if he messages back, but if not, we'll probably end the show, and I'll probably just say I definitely appreciate him. It's all good. He made his little appearance, so it's better than nothing. He was going to answer the question on certain stuff, but hey, it's all good. Yeah, breaking in and out, that sucks, man. Yeah, go use the library Wi-Fi. Do I have Wi-Fi? It's the stupid Xfinity shit. My wife has that Xfinity. How is that laptop? It's only been I think it's only been like a year or 2 years old. My dad never used it. He never used it, so it's kind of like almost brand new if you think about it. All right, man. But hey, I do thank Mark for being on the show. And if he's not able to get back on, it's okay. I'll just message him and tell him I thank you for the show. No worries. It happens, man. Plus, he's gonna get into the office anyway, so that's pretty much the show. I don't think he'll be back because of the reception issues, but all right. So that's all you guys got to see today. Doesn't look like he's coming back right now. So thank you guys for appearing on the show. And as always, go Niners. Yeah. Yeah, pretty much, man. Well, CG Ruthless Sports is done with the show. I don't know if Mark's coming back, so I'll give it a few more minutes, but doesn't look like he's coming back with the reception issue. All right. So that was so cool. Yeah. I definitely like to thank Mark for appearing on the show. Nice guy. Does good on his stuff. Some people may like his takes and some people may not. But I do like what Bonte Hill does, and I like what Butcher does. I've been trying to reach out for them. Yeah, it's bad as how the Rams play your Niners. Yep. It's pretty much bad as it is, man. No worries, man. I could just let Mark know that everything's cool. No worries. Shit happens. But hey, thank you, Mark. Maybe I'll get you back on in the near future, man. It's better than nothing, bro. You did a good job on the show, so we'll call it a day, man. I don't see him coming back anytime soon on this stream because it's the reception issue. So maybe he'll come back next time, unless he messages me pretty quickly. Yeah, he's probably going to be heading to the office. So thank you, Mark. Have a great day, bro. Definitely appreciate it. So as always, go Niners.